I think what's so helpful is the idea of kids being anxious. It's a universal feeling. We all feel anxiety.
Hmm.
And I think what's hard for parents oftentimes is how to know when to intervene, when to help our kids,
Yeah.
because it's normal to be anxious, but how do you know when it's too much? How do you know when we should be seeking help and attention?
Right. So when anxiety and avoidance are the default for kids, when they feel nervous every time they're in a new situation, so they don't want to go places or try things, when anxiety is getting in the way of normal and healthy behavior, so makes it hard to go to school, makes it hard to do activities or things with friends, makes it hard to fall asleep alone. When anxiety is getting in the way, it's important to do something about it. So it's not so much what the anxiety is about, it's more about how big is it and how much is it getting in the way or kind of impairing a child. And when it's getting in the way, something needs to be done about it. Anxiety is really treatable. There are things that parents and kids can do, whether or not a child is in therapy, that make a very real difference. And that's the good news about anxiety. The goal is not to make the feeling go away. The goal is to teach children to change their relationship with that uncomfortable feeling of anxiety and to learn to move towards rather than reflexively away from the things that are making them feel nervous or afraid, the safe things that are making them feel nervous or afraid.
I think that's really helpful because as a parent, I think a lot of times our instinct may be to try to brush off the feeling or maybe to
Hmm.
ignore the feeling in hopes that
Right,
it will go away and improve if
right.
we don't draw attention to it.
Exactly. So parents do a fair amount of minimizing. So they tell their children, there's nothing to worry about, or everyone else is doing it, or you're going to like it once you start it, right? That's minimizing the feeling. Parents also do a fair amount of accommodating. So allowing their child to avoid or move away from. And the third thing that the common mistake that parents tend to make is to try to talk their child out of their feeling, to try to use logic or reason to talk their child out of it. None of those things work. All of them come from a place of love, right? So it's hard to see your child feeling afraid. It sometimes triggers a parent's own anxiety or own distress, seeing their child in distress. And so when we see our children feeling anxious, we want that anxious feeling to go away. And so we do whatever is the fastest and most efficient thing we can do to try to get rid of the feeling. And often that's successful in the moment. So if a child is feeling anxious about going to a birthday party and a parent says either, okay, you don't have to go, or I'll stay with you, presto, the child is no longer anxious, right? So it seems like it worked in quotes because it in the moment it got the anxiety to go away. But those kinds of accommodations for anxiety or ways of fostering avoidance of anxiety make the anxiety better in the moment while making it worse in the long run. And that's why it's important for parents and children to learn what the alternative is.
So, can you just summarize what are the three common mistakes that parents make with childhood anxiety?
Yeah. So they are dismissing the anxiety, telling a child you have nothing to worry about, and being dismissive. They're overly accommodating, which means fostering the avoidance or anxiety that a child is feeling by kind of capitulating to the anxiety. So research has shown that 97% of parents of anxious children routinely accommodate their children's anxiety. Virtually all parents do it. And again, it comes from a place of love. And a lack of knowledge about what to do instead, right? And then the third mistake is trying to talk your child out of it, right? Yeah.
I've done that too, I must admit.
Yes. Absolutely, because it seems so clear to us, right? We know that our child isn't actually in danger, and so we try to talk them out of the fear that they're feeling. But that doesn't work because when a child is in that heightened state, the logical part of their brain isn't working, and so they can't hear or can't benefit from the ways that we try to reason with them.
I agree with you. I'm picturing instances in my own family life where I've tried to push my kids along when they show signs of fear, and it definitely doesn't work. It almost backfires. They dig their heels in further, it seems.
They do, and then it also makes us as parents more frustrated because we're kind of explaining to them why they're safe or why they shouldn't be afraid, and it doesn't work, and that is irritating, right? And then we start to get mad, and then kids get even more anxious because having a parent mad at you is not a comfortable or fun thing, or having a parent not believe you or see you or acknowledge what you're feeling. And that's why one of the first really important things for parents to do is to simply hear their child, to make a clear verbal acknowledgement. I can see that you're afraid. Wow, that seems scary, right? You're not agreeing with your child that they're actually in danger, but you're acknowledging their fear. And that's a powerful thing to do because it helps children feel seen and heard, and it makes them feel safer with their parent and more inclined to listen to or believe whatever their parent is going to say or do next.
The power of empathy is very strong.
Absolutely. Yes.